The last presentation of this morning will be dedicated to the hearing of a child, in identifying child's opinion, and in particular on the psychological overview. And this presentation will be made by Mrs. Terezi Bemova, who is a social worker working in the sphere of child protection. She works for a non-profit organization in Czech Republic. She focused on working with at-risk children. And in her work, she emphasizes the importance of children's participation and the strength of a child's voice in looking for a solution for his or her life or social situation. She leads accredited courses for social workers, teachers, and foster parents, and she is an external lecturer at the Czech Judicial Academy. She is a member of the International Society for Prevention Child Abuse and Neglect, focusing primarily on topics related to neglect of children in the context of a compressive development trauma. Mrs. Bemova, this is the floor is yours.
Good morning, maybe it's late, but still morning. I will try to be a little bit shortly because I know that in program is some changes. At first I show you some small movie, and movie is the psychological experiment that show how much our behavior can be influenced by our surrounding. We will see how foreign people can influence us, and then those who are close to us. It's important that we thinking about the opinion of child and who formed the opinion, who maybe change the opinion, or who manipulate these children. It's important to know what opinion is and how it's formed. And the reason why I try to show the film is that to understanding that importance of hearing a child in a court is not in the possibility to getting crystal true about their family or their life, but above all the saturation of his or her basic mental needs.
So, you walk into an elevator and naturally you turn and face the door, right? It's just what we do without even thinking. Here on Would You Fall for That, we decided we had to pay homage to candid camera.
How this man tries to maintain his individuality.
So right now we are reenacting their famous test of conformity. The elevator experiment. So we found a nice elevator at the Juilliard School and gathered our Would You Fall for That stuff. If we turned to face the back of the elevator, would others follow? Alright, in the blue t-shirt, that is Nadia. She is an innocent passerby. Has nothing to do with this. Everybody else in that elevator, they all work for Would You Fall for That. They are all in on the experiment. They are all purposefully facing the wrong way. Nadia is facing the front. You can just see the back of her head. Wearing the blue t-shirt, that's Nadia. She is facing the front of the elevator like a normal human being. Everybody else is facing the back. We're playing this to you in real time, no editing, as it actually happened. Okay, floor 2. Rebecca gets off, Emily gets on, she also works for us. We're swapping people in and out to reinforce the behavior. Emily's acting like it's the most normal. Oh, Nadia's turn. Nadia, okay, her bag is slipping off her shoulder. She's nervously playing with it. Nadia's now halfway round. Will she go any further? Emily gets off, Mike gets on. Again, Mike works for the show. Presses his button, faces the back like it's the most normal thing in the world, like he does it every day. Nadia is really feeling the pressure right now.
I'm not going to see anyone else.
Scott's making some small talk.
He was in celebrity rehab, I think.
She's looking towards the back of the elevator because everybody else is. Floor 4.
I love the guy.
Fourth floor, Mike gets off. Lauren gets on. Lauren also works for us. She's in. Oh, and Nadia has gone. The 4th floor, Nadia has turned all the way around. She's looking at the back of the elevator. That is not normal human behavior. Nadia is looking at the back of the elevator purely because everybody else is. Okay, you've seen it in real time. Let's play that for you again in fast forward. Nadia, turning.
Did you notice anything while we were standing in the elevator? We were all facing one way and we wanted to see if one person would do it and
You did it, yeah. So you were wondering why. But you just went along with it without even questioning.
Yeah.
Social scientists refer to this as the Ash paradox, when a person's own opinions and actions are influenced by the majority of the group. The lady with the grey coat, she is a civilian. Everybody else in the elevator is on our team. That is Elizabeth. She's facing the front as she should, but she's looking around. She's noticed that everybody else is facing the back. She's looking around, wondering what's going on. This is a bit odd. Everybody else is looking like nothing strange is happening. Elizabeth is looking around like something very strange is happening. On the 2nd floor, she's slightly turned. She's turned. Look at her shoulders. She's not facing the front anymore. She's moved. Emily gets on. Again, she's with us. Presses her button. Elizabeth looks at her. Emily faces the back. Elizabeth is turning. Elizabeth is turning. She's pretending she's just looking around, but that's a cover. She's actually turning as well. All right. Going again. Okay, that lady there with the grey pointing up, that's Karen. She's an innocent passerby, gets on. Everybody else is in on the experiment. She presses her button, immediately complies. She faces the back, because everybody else is.
You walked in and you started facing the same direction we all were, right?
I actually thought that you all knew something that I didn't.
That's the crux. She bowed to the pressure of the group. Conform, but, you know, it doesn't work every time.
This is so weird. Everyone is facing this way.
You're on floor 3 for anyone who can't see.
We're about to take it up a notch. What if Scott played some music on his phone? And gradually all of our staff in the elevator started to dance. Do people get down while they're going up? Okay, man in the hat, he's looking at his phone. He's got earbuds in. And here's another angle on our stranger. Who's gonna cave? Oh, his head's nodding, He's heading down. That did not take long. He has joined in the elevator dance party. Yep, there he goes. The shoulders are going now. He's getting into it. Head bobbing. Nice. He has joined in dancing because everybody else is. No rhyme, no reason, just moves.
One by one, seemed like everybody started to catch on, and I figured I like a good dance party. I'm not going to be the one standing on the wall.
Yeah. Would you go for that?
That's right there. Social conformity. Thank you very much. So, would you have fallen for that? Or do you think you're too clever? We're on Twitter right now with the hashtag WYFFT.
WYFFT, what does that stand for?
Would you fall for that? Our show?
We have a show?
Whiffed.
it was funny. But when we speak with children in divorce situation or in situation when need to get out from their family to some foster care or some auto-home care, it's not so funny. But the film will show us the press of the group and how imagine what is the press about the parents. If you live with some people, they have some value, they have some behavior, they say you something. It's very hard to start to be independent. It's impossible. That means that opinion of children are every time built up by their parents or people who live with them. And it's a reason why we have to think about opinion just much more about the hearing or opinion about the needs of child to understand what are doing, who will make decision, why decide by some way or something like this. This is my presentation will try to get to three parts. First is why is listening important, second why is talking important, and some practical question if we will have time or we could discuss afternoon. This is a motto of my work. Today's society likes to visualize children. We take pictures of them and fill them, we create children's rooms and furniture for them, make films, put together special restaurant menus, the tailor fashion to them, but we actually listen to them very little. When we discussing about the participation of children or including children to decision making, we need to understand a little bit historical and social context. At first, childhood as adulthood are social constructs, and many child milestones are social consensus, which is subject to change. It's different not only in time, but also in individual cultures. Sometimes it's different one family to another family, or between very neighboring countries. For example, the age when children start to go to school, the length of school attendance, the age for making a drive license, drink alcohol, or voting. It's a culture consensus. It's not nature rights or something like biological rights. And in many of these areas is some tension between what the child himself or herself would wish or what we think that he or she wish, and what parents or society view as eligible. In some situation it's necessary to decide when the decision-making participation and capacity of child can be accepted, and when, on the other hand, is restriction or some limits of the child decision-making may be viewed as hers or as his or her protection. But I could say that sometimes society precondition about children's opinion without trying actually discover them. For example, is prediction that children dislike school or want to eat just in a sweet shop or McDonald's or something like that. But we haven't any serious research about this. In Czech Republic, we haven't any research about if the child would abolish school. But we have a lot of studies that repeatedly show that children look forward to going to school, and their objections have a far more specific and, in fact, legitimate foundation. They would only wish for school to start later, or the teachers to talk them more, or something like this. It means that we have some precondition about the children and don't listen what they really want. Essentially, never in human history or in human society where children are able to decide for themselves. This is not objective or purpose of increasing participation of children. Even through the age at which children were started to be seen as adults for various legal actions has changed over the course of history. At first, it's important that decisions about children on everyday level, as well as in the case of important and life influence matters, are always taken by persons who care about children. It's parents. The parents have a responsibility for to care and to make some decision about the children. And from my job, I know that sometimes it's important to teach parents how be responsible for decision making, which provide in situation of care about their children. Parents are, when we start to make children more involving to participation, it's not mean that parents don't care about the children. Parents care for and bring up children are constantly make decisions about lives of their children. Doctor choose the diagnostic and treatment process, and judges will decide about placing a child in some substitute environment in situation of abuse or neglect family. But none of these adults can give up his or her responsibility and transfer in over the child. But that does not mean that she or he don't try to find out about the child's opinion, position, expectation, dreams, wish, that she or he should not explain to the child the situation in which the child discovers himself or herself, or consequences that this adult decision will have for the child's life. I'm interested about especially about the abuse or neglect children or children which live out of the families, and it's very important to help them to understand what's happened and what will be now, what will be in future, and about the emotion which children have with this situation. No less important is to help the child understand what is going on in his or her life, and to accept the decisions which are made by adults. I don't know if it's the same situation in your country, but many of children in Czech, which is in out-of-home care, don't understand really well what's happened and why couldn't live with their family. And most of them start to have in this placement some emotional or behavioral problem. And in a better situation, we start to treatment the behavioral problem, but fortunately, sometimes we punish the behavioral problem. The running out from the institution, aggression, conflict, and something like this. But most of children just need the information about their life. And when we start to discuss with them what happened and why, they cut down the behavioral problems. Naturally, it's always necessary to proceed appropriately to child age, skills, seriousness of situation, and the impact of the decision on the child's life. For example, if children need to move in situation of divorce and lose the friends from school, need the hobbies, change the place when they live, it's a big decision to their life, and they need to understand why. Why listening to children is important? Because it's child's right, it's your job. Or because it's child's need, it's my job. Participation of children definitely doesn't mean that expert psychologists, social worker, judges should stop diagnosing, evaluating, or determining intervention on therapeutic procedures for benefit of children. Often, unfortunately, against the child wishes. For example, you need to make a painful examination for some for child's health, or you need to make a decision about placed children in some out-of-home care. But the short way is always involve the child to the decision minimally on the level of mutual exchange of information, and they should not interchange or leave all forms or stages of participation. For example, child appearance in court cannot be substituted by expert opinion. It's somebody talking about the children, not with the children. This is, I don't know if you are able to read. There is what the first thing you are going to think of when your brain is fully formed. That means that when we start to speak about the children needs, it's important to say what is the children needs. What is the children needs? It's also evident that children's participation must not be inspired solely an effort to grant a right. It must be also consonant on the true understanding of the need of child, and to understand be involved in decision making. And involvement of children cannot be viewed as purely as accounting or a management approach when quantitative criteria are evaluated, such as the number of duration of consultation, or when we control the signature of some protocol or something like this. It was in Czech typical that we say, yes, we will be participate with children, we start to provide the family conference or case conference, and most important was that children make a signature. They don't understand what's doing, but make a signature. Everybody say, oh, we have participated with children because they was there, and they make a signature. And it's not rural participation. Children participation is about a fundamental postulate for a successful intervention, and last but not least, an expression of respect to a human being and his and her dignity. Because if you want that children to respect some decision, they need to understand. And what about the needs? The universally function model of human need was created by Maslow. I think that everybody knows this type of pyramid of the needs. At the base is some physiological needs. On the top is self-development needs. But Mr. Maslow forgot something. They forgot the need of autonomy and to Wi-Fi and battery life. It's important for today's children very much. Participation is primarily about the need of autonomy. The need of autonomy can be classified as absolutely essential and fundamental. Children express their autonomy from the birth. Every one of us has ability to see whether the baby likes or dislikes the world around him, and how he or she is being cared for. It's fascinating to see how a child only a few hours old can respond differently to the different themes of music, to the tone of voice, to the material of the fabric he or she is wrapping, or the taste of his or her mother's milk, and position which is he or she is being held, and many other situations. And everybody know if we see baby, if it's pleasure or unpleasure. If smile is pleasure, if cry is unpleasure. We know it. This is the essential of autonomy, to say I want it, I just want it, I don't want it. Even this is, and we have some general recommendation how to care about the baby, but every children is absolutely unique in some special preferences. If you have more than one baby, you know that was different. In many situations, you try to do the same way, but it doesn't work. You need to find the way for every child different. This need of autonomy grows with them. If they are in a loving and safe environment, we naturally try to saturate the needs of their. We play games that they enjoy, and we too. We carefully guard their favorite toys to make sure it does not get lost. Who knows the loss of toys? We understand why I say. We adapt food to their tastes and try to make less popular daily activities such as getting dressed or bathing more pleasant by calming and pleasant rituals, singing, intense eye contact, smile, stroking, consolation. A 1-year-old child understands the charm and power of the word no, myself, I don't want this. Remember if you have some baby. No, I don't want this. Oh, that's great. I don't know. No, no, no. If child is grow up into a psychological resistance, healthy and empathic being, she or he needs to have her or his need of autonomy gradually developed, cultivated, and steered. Only if we give children safe space for their autonomous development can we expect them to be able to decide independently in the future and to take responsibility for their own decisions. But what happens if we limit it or restrict the need for autonomy more than is appropriated? At first, angers come. You know, everybody. It's normally that children do this, and we start to discuss with them about their emotion and about our wish. But if we don't start discuss, it's happened this. It's resignation, even depression. Many children in child protection systems may seem to be uninterested in participation. It's quite possible that some of them have lost interest and need to participate, but have also lost the confidence that someone would like to listen to them. That if you meet with the children, which looks like the boy on the gown, the depression or deprivate, maybe they don't want to speak with you. But it's not because they have a need, but because their need was a long time unsaturated, and they lost the capability to discuss, to have the wish, to believe, to have a trust that somebody will help him with this situation. And what means the principle of autonomy in the judicial system? At first, the children need to understand what's going on and what will be next. We sit in this room and everybody has some plan what will we do in 2 hours, in 6 hours, when your plane is arriving, what will you do in Saturday, in Monday, maybe after the year. We need in our head some future vision. But if you are in a situation when your parents divorce, or you are abused and neglect and you are going to some foster parents family or some orphanage, your future finish. And you need to understand what will be do. Maybe in tomorrow, maybe during the next week, because we haven't any ideas about the final decision, but they need to understand short steps in their life. Second is be able to express one's own opinion, expectation, dreams, wishes or something like this. And we need to try, we mean the adult or the people who care about the children, to try to make some small steps which could reflect or respect the expression of children. We have in Czech some special card games, comics or another tools for people who worked in orphanage or foster parents, which play with children when they can and try to understand some behavior manner or some rituals for sleeping or for wake up, for which the people need to understand how is the way which prefer the children, and try because it's not easy sometimes, but try to plan the services on their level. And third, be able actively influence one's own situation. The influence means to some very small influence. That means that you could ask how often you want to call to your mother, or do you have some dress or toys which you could take out with you to the foster family, or something small thing, but it's very important. Participatory approach is characteristic by the primary axiom that a child is not passive object who is evaluated and cared for by experts in a legal, social, educational or health system, but rather than someone who has a natural need and ability appropriate to his or her age to actively participate in decision-making process. We tried that experts should not longer decide about child on the basis of their own judgment or experience. They should rather create conditions, an environment, and some procedural possibilities for involving children, allowing to them play the active role in the resolution of the matters pertaining to them. In this context, participation must be seen as joint decision-making, joint evaluation, joint assessment, joint sharing of information and decision. This means cooperation. It is by no means a full shifting of these activities or responsibility to the child, but rather his or her involvement in the resolution. We should approach a child's participation as something that he or she has the capacity to participate. That means that every child has right and the need to participate. Only in cases when this is not possible in spite of all of the efforts of court and all of the experts involved may a child participation could be restricted. The state should therefore create conditions in administrative or judicial proceeding for the greatest possibility participation of children rather than defend or conserve the barriers they may exist. When I spoke with social workers in Czech when we started participation, most of them say, yes, we know that children need to participation, but it's hard. And start to say me, why not? Because we haven't special rooms, because we haven't special training, because we haven't time, because the children don't say us anything new, and so many things, why not? And we say no, the children need to participate and we need to make a condition for participation. Sometimes we could find the children which cannot because of some mental abilities which could help them, or they don't want. But it's very different if the children don't want to participate, or when we say it's hard to participate. But this is a big power of child autonomy, and we say that autonomy and the principle of autonomy means that directed autonomy. And directed autonomy means that the child has the right to information, has the right to express himself or herself, has the opportunity to participate in decision making. However, the child does not command and determine how will live and what other people should to do. It's important. We don't make the participation don't make from children dictators. They make partners. And it's a short summary on the half of presentation. The rights of children as an expression of the basic needs, and the very basic needs of autonomy. Also, the child it is the child more than anyone else who will have to live with what the court decides. If you make some decision about the children in a divorce process or in the child abuse or neglect cases, you make a decision about their future. It's important to participate. We could say that need for autonomy means that need to participate. What is the participation and how to implement it? At first question is who realize the participation. We think that the first is parents. Parents is their role to explain to the child what is going on in his or her life, why his or her parents are behaving the way they are, and what decision they have made about their lives. And the child learn to steer the child's autonomy appropriately in line with the child's interest. On the second, the competence of parents is of the particular importance in if family fall apart, and any experts involved should give maximum support to develop the skills of parents on the part of parents rather than try to substitute it. I have some clients which call me that they want to divorce and ask me if I could tell this information to their children because they don't know how. And I don't do it. I training the parents what to say, when, in which place, who will be there and who don't be there, how to do it, but never be the person who say to children that the parents are divorced or that the parents are going to prison and children need to go to some foster parents or something like this. That means that the responsibility of parents is still very important. But if the situation when parents are fulfilling and children rights to participate, that is where they are giving the child true information, are not manipulating child to again or other parents, or if an administrative authority or court is involved in making a decision, it's necessary to create appropriate condition to allow children to participate in the systems. The steps are that if the parents are able to make a common decision about the child, it's participation on parents' level. If they are not able to do it, and they want help from administrative, for example, child social protection system, or they need a decision of court, it's important to participate children on this level. And this is 4 steps for the best participation of children. The first step is informing the child. At the beginning of participation, the child must be informed about the purpose of his or her participation, about who it will proceed, with whom he or she is talking, and what the person's role in the decision-making process. It's important because in Chego's tradition that the children very often speak just the social worker, but they don't make a final decision. They get a report to the court and court make a final decision. That is so many steps, and the social worker don't know what will be final decision and why the court or judge make the decision by this way. And how another information that children need is how the child's communication will be handled, who and who will find out what the child has said. It's very important in the very conflict divorce when parents manipulate it and make a big press. Sometimes I think that this behavior of parents have the market of psychological abuse, and it's important that children feel safe to say something outside from family, whether she can refuse to participate because it is not witness testimony. Only on the basis of the information, of that information, can the child decide whether he or she wants to share his or her opinion. And if they want to share full information, only some limited degree. They could say, yes, I will say what I want, but I don't want to speak about the past time. And if we thinking about the participation, we accept this way of thinking of child. And leaving this stage, that means that we start to discuss with children without the information or providing incomplete information. For example, many social workers ask me what I can do if children say me something about the dangers in family, about the physical punishments or corporal punishment, about some abusive behavior. It's possible to didn't say to another. I said no. You need before to explain children what will you do with this information, and children have to right to say yes. In this occasion, I don't want to speak with you, or I don't want to speak about this. Leaving this stage out of providing or incomplete information or pressuring the child into cooperation means that is in a procedural step in judicial proceeding rather than participation. I know that sometimes you need it. You needed this type of information. That's all right, but it's not participation. It's some procedural step, but not participation. Second is listening to the child's opinion. The term opinion means that what we think, it's about our ideas, it's about what we are in our head. What we think about certain situation, person, relationships, people who live near of us. That is why child's opinion should not be found out above all by means of a structured interview. That's all. Some special methods, projective techniques or techniques are indirect questioning. Don't attempt to intermediate the child's opinion, but rather than interpret the opinion of child. The risk involved in the application of this type of projective or special method lies above all in the risk of misinterpreting. I don't know if in Czech Republic was very popular some techniques which mean magic family. It means that I ask the children, please make pictures of your family when the persons are some animals. And we try to, on the symbolic level, find why father is lion and mother is mouse, for example. But this everything is our interpretation, because mouse, people like mouse. It's haven't any influence on the internship with the people. And somebody very afraid mouse. And it's only my interpretation of the situation of the child, not the description of real family. And they say, this projection techniques, it's not for a child opinion. Sometimes it's possible work with them in therapy. If you are a therapist, you know a lot of these techniques, but not in court decision process when you need to find some some real wish or real opinion of child, real. And a second dangers of this protection, the proactive methods, is that you can open some traumatic memories, and it's not role of judges. You are not therapists. You are not able to offer the help or some support that children need when they start to talking about some traumatic events or some memories. But if you speak with children about who care about you, who are going with you to the school, to the kindergarten, who help you with homework, how do you have time with mother, with father, it's not traumatic. It's normal interview, it's normal discussion, and it's able to do every judge or every social worker. Step 3 is integration of the child opinion in the decision. Once we know the child opinion of the situation at hand, but above all of the solution to the situation, we can also integrate the opinion in the measures that we will be imposed in the interest of the child or on the child. In particular, if the final decision differs significantly from the opinion or wish expressed by the child, we should do our best to integrate at least some of what the child wants in decision. To improve the child's autonomy and confirm that it makes sense to cooperate with the court or some child protection system. I could give you some example from medical health system. Let us imagine the participation of child if demanding and painful treatment is required. That this decision about the treatment was made by the parents and by the doctors, and the children need this type of therapy, and we are not able to do it without the pain. But autonomy may be returned to the child within the small steps taken in the process. For example, I could ask which arm should the interveners be ordered, and they could say right or left. You give them some small autonomy for decision how to provide some treatment process. And the fourth step, last step, is explaining the decision to the child. The last stage of child's participation, which is most important, is explaining the final decision to the child. This stage is more important than more the decision diverges from the opinion expressed by the child and from his or her expectation. I know this situation especially in abuse or neglect cases, because many abusive or neglected children love their parents. They want to stay with them, but we know that it's not safe for them, and we need to get them to some alternative care. But they still love parents and say, I want to stay with them. And it's very important to discover our decision. As in stage one, leaving this step out means that the task undertaken had little to do with the child participation. That the only purpose was to extract a statement from his or her for the purpose of the expert decision of the court or some child protection system. We know that the fourth step is most difficult task. We in Czech very often discuss who is responsible to say children the decision. Who, where, how, and why. Do you have some how do you do in your country? It's normally that the judges say the decision to children. Yeah, we very often listen in the Czech the same. And who is providing this for the children? Who do it? Judge is not this verb. Parents, okay. And if you are place the children in out-of-home care, that means that parents is not good parents who discuss social workers.
Or the institution who takes the custody.
The institution where will be care about the children. Yeah. The question is very important because we are in the same situation in Czech. Everybody say it's not my job. Maybe another person, another profession, a social worker in child protection say we haven't time. It's a job of people who care about the children in new situation. And in orphanage they say, oh, we don't know why court make this decision because we have just the results of decisions. And judges say we haven't time and we haven't position to discuss. It's a very big, now is a big discussion in Czech who is responsible for this. Because I work with children in orphanage and most of them don't understand who and why make a decision. And parents, especially parents of these children, make so many false information that they say, I don't want to get you to this institution. The judge was so bad man or bad woman and give me your children, and so many things. And children haven't any idea about the truth, but they live in the situation when was the separate from people who loved and don't understand. And what's the typical when we say that they start have the behavioral problem. And what we are doing with behavioral problem in orphanage. Sometimes we make a medication, sometimes psychological treatment, but it's not normally because in Czech we have a lot of psychologists in orphanage, and sometimes we try to punish them because make the conflict. They are aggression. They destroy the placement. And most of them do it because they don't understand. And we have some decision about our Ústavní soud, Constitutional Court from Czech. It was very, sometimes unpleasant and sometimes very interesting. We have the one girl, she was 12 or 11, 12, and the parents were divorced, and mother don't want to make a vaccination of her, but the right vaccination on law. And father asked the court to make a decision if it's possible to make vaccination if mother don't want. And court asked the girl, they make a participation of her, and she said that she don't want vaccination because afraid. And the reasons afraid was the same that reason of her mother. That's normally. And court make a decision that vaccination is in law and providing the vaccination. And mother make appeal to Constitutional Court, and that is her right to make a decision about the health of her child. But court say that it's not about the decision. That the decision is okay because we have the law about the vaccination and it's not discussed about if mother want or don't want. But say that the participation of rights of the child was small because nobody from the court didn't say her the decision. They just take her to the doctors and make the vaccination. And it is a big impact to body or to our dignity or psychological if you know that children's afraid. And courts say that the role of the decision information is to the judges who provide this decision, and the way how to do it is to make, for example, the letter. And this judges which are provided on our court have the discussion with children before to make the decision which way she or he prefer. And she say, just letter. And she write her a letter. It's possible to make a call, make a letter, have somebody who will speak with children. If you have a decision or if you make agreement that children accept that the information, say them parents or social workers, that's okay. But thinking who will do it and how. And now we have some Czech judges which have some universal letter which send the children, especially children, which replies from family. And it's a very short, and it's not. I'm not a lawyer. It's not about the legal process. It's not about who write it and who signature and which date. It's some psychosocial contact. It's about the communication. For child, does not matter who do it and long. It's much important that somebody do it, and the best if the court agrees with the child directly in the second step or second stage when they're listening to the child about the form that the child prefers for being informed about the outcomes of the proceeding and by whom. In the framework of the principle of autonomy management, a court can only offer those forms of communication of outcome of the proceeding that are possible given the organization or time restraints of court. It's normally that you say, oh sorry, I haven't time to meet with you again. I write you a letter or I call you or your social worker visit you and describes what happened. That's okay. But it's important to still thinking about the participation, have the 4 steps. And this stage is extremely important, especially in a situation where the court decision separates the child from his or her loved ones, or when her contact with the loved one is significantly restricted, or if the decision have the strong impact to the life of children, for example, the vaccination or some health procedures which could be painful or something like this. Why participation is needed? We have some researches about the countries which prefer or which try to participate, and it looks that take shorter time. When you started to participation, I'm sorry, it's 10 minutes. When you start with participation, you could think that it's a lot of work, new work. But when you started to do it, on the end, you have a smaller work. Lead to more acceptable decisions. That means that the children understand. And in many states have a lower tendency to get back to the court because people and children understand what to do. And the children have some benefits from participation approach. Nurture the need for autonomy, promotes personal and society responsibility, helps in the process of socialization, helps in understanding the trust into the social and legal system. And I think that it's in civil society, the past point is so important too, because, for example, when I work with neglect children, it's old history of neglect in the many families, and most of them feeling outside the society and outside the system. And we need to help the children go back to our society to understand what they are doing. Contributes to civil society, increased tolerance and respect for others, and participation, strength, accountability. How to do? I think that this is some practical question and we will have time afternoon to discuss about the age limits, because it's a question when start with participation and how. And we will discuss afternoon. But what we could do in every situation is preparing children by providing simple information about the role of hearing, the rights at each stage, the support that they can be given, how they can participate, and how their views will be considered, and practical arrangement, such as when the hearing will take place and where. But it's important, and we started with participation. Many judges, social workers say we have in some special rooms. It's hard to discuss with children in office. It's not too hard. Hearing or discussing with a judge is formal act. It's not visiting of Legoland or some entertainment, and children understand the formal roles. We have the children which want to speak with the judge only if they have the judge's because they say, I want to know that is judges. That means that some formal situation, it's normal, it's not problem. You haven't any very nice and plays and toys, because if you have a lot of toys and many nice things, the children are interesting about the toys, not about your discussing. That means that you are able to discuss with children on your office, maybe in the judge's hall. It's okay. You need some very, very special placement. How long it will last? It's especially about the age, because the children, small children, are able to discuss with you maybe 2-3 minutes. If you remember, if you have small children and go out from kindergarten, you can thinking about the discussion which you are able to have. Who will be there? That means that sometimes it's important that will be there more than one people, maybe judge and social workers and psychologists, but it's not a huge people because it's stressful for children. What protection her or he will be provided, and the decision making. And this point we will have in the lecture afternoon. We could discuss in the group what do you think about it, and we will be discuss about. This is some points for requirements. This is summary, because I want to show you one small video again, and maybe this is a themes for discussion afternoon, because it's some arguments against participation, which I very often listen. Why it's better if children are not involving, because it's traumatized and they don't say the rights, and the people in Czech sometimes say the children have a lot of rights and any responsibility. It's very often that you give them just the rights, and I think that they haven't so much rights, but some people have this feeling. And in the end, I it's another psychological experiment. I like psychological experiments.
Okay, so that's your... Alright, here's the deal. Marshmallow, for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have two. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? Alright. I'm gonna go do something and then I'll come back.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
So it's up to you. You can have it now or you can wait. Okay? I'll be back. Stay in the chair, okay? Okay. So I'm gonna leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do? Did you do good? You did? You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need one.
Okay, this is the end. Thank you for your attention and see you after lunch.